In tonight's video, we have a Sony SL2001 portable Betamax. This one's got a loading problem and a power problem. This is a Sony SL2001. I've got two power supplies with it. One is the one that fits in the battery compartment, which apparently is not working, and I have a separate power supply here that will plug into the DC input on the side. I do not have the tuner timer with this unit. A fellow that owns it doesn't have the tuner timer, although I do have a TT2000, which is probably the same. But what he did bring me was he did bring me the video adapter, the Sony VMC110C, which is for connecting the video output into a PCM adapter. It has no audio output. It has video in and video out. And that's to go into like a PCM F1 PCM adapter where you only need the video. But I can still play back a tape, an analog tape, and get sound out of the earphone socket here. So all is not lost. But this one here, apparently it will not turn on when using this. So let's make sure that this is actually outputting power. Do we have power on here now? We have 12 volts. So when I plug this fake battery into the side of the machine, it should turn on, but it doesn't. So there's a problem between here and inside the unit. That's one of the faults that we are aware of that this one has. The other one is it doesn't load properly and wants it all checked out. So let's pop the screws out of the top, remove the top cover, and we'll take a look at the SL2001 and see how it differs from the SL2000, because they are completely different beasts. No comparison between the two. And I should point out, as far as I know, there is no other Betamax that used this design. This was one that was exclusive. So next we'll get the screws out of the back here to remove the top cover. There's also an RF out on here, so I could hook up to the TV using the RF out if I wanted to, and play it on channel 3. Okay, I think if I just pop this, this should lift off now. If I just do that, and it will pull free from the front. Undo the plug here. Okay, this is probably where the problem is here, between here and the board down here. Oh yes, I can see the problem already. The connector is broken off on the board side. Got my finger there when I lifted that top cover off. We'll pop the bottom off. And of course, when I'm trying to record, that's when my neighbor decides that they're going to pressure wash their driveway right when I go to record. Yeah, you think this is broken? Does that look like it's broken to you? Looks like it's very broken to me. Very broken. The traces themselves are actually damaged. We'll have to repair that. Put some wires around to give it a bit more strength. Wire it across here, and then one to this other terminal that goes over to here. We'll get the soldering iron heated up first. Now I know you guys are not going to want to hear me say this, because you're going to see he's complaining about this, he complains about everything. Everything's a piece of shit. Well, that's because everything is a piece of shit. Do you notice something on the circuit board? Can you see it on camera? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. This is a multi-layer board that they've got on here. It's not a double-layer board. It's a multi-layer board. You see, if we look on the top side, there's no traces whatsoever. Right? There's no traces. All the components are mounted on one side, and all the connections are on the other. But this is a multi-layer board. You can see the lower traces if I zoom the camera in. You see the lower traces here? There's a through connector. You've got connections on top, the green ones, for example. This is copper, and then there's copper underneath. So if we look on here on this broken connection here, you'll see that, well, that's obviously the positive terminal that goes over to the fuse, but look at the negative terminal. Where is it going to go? It goes to another connection that goes underneath here and connects over here to ground. And we have to connect that because the board is broken. I don't know that it's going to connect all the way through. When I resolder this connector on, I don't know that I'm going to have ground. I'm going to have to find a place to put the ground. It was a bad design 40 years ago because these units, the SL2000 was just as bad. Actually, I don't think it was as bad as this. It had a double-sided board. This is a single-sided board with multiple layers on this one. But people would, drop the recorder out in the field and they'd crack the board, and it caused one of the internal layers to crack. And trying to find the one that was damaged to repair it was just an absolute nightmare to find it. And these machines were notorious for getting broken boards just because of the way they're designed. People would drop them, they're attached here and here, but there's nothing down here, and the impact would shear the board internally and cause all kinds of headaches and problems that may or may not have been fixable. What I don't know by just resoldering this is whether I'm going to have a connection through to the internal layers. I probably will not. We'll measure it with the meter and see whether I've got continuity. So I've got continuity. It will beep. So the positive terminal here. Do I have continuity over to the fuse? No, I don't. So we're going to have to put a jumper wire from here over to here, I guess, or even over to the fuse. What about the ground? Right, we don't have continuity here. We also don't have continuity to the ground. What about from here to the ground? Do I have continuity here from this connection? Probably not, because I think it comes back to over here. Oh, so I do have a connection there. That one's good. To ground. But this one, the positive is no good, but I've got a good connection here. So we're going to put a jumper wire across here to get power to the fuse. The ground one appears to be that it's going through, it's actually internally joined here. But it's not good to that cap. So we'll just put a jumper across here, but at least the internal one that goes underneath here is picking it up. But I mean, I could just put a ground wire from there to there just to be sure that my ground is going to be good. Because you can see here's the trace underneath there. And it comes up there. So I can put a wire across there just to make sure that it's not going to break. We'll do that just so that it doesn't break in the future. this one I can probably just use a little bare piece of wire because it's not going to be around anything else. I used a insulated one here just because it's in the vicinity of the positive lead, but this other one won't be, so we're just going to use a piece of bare wire. The center pin I don't need to worry too much about. That's just for the temperature compensator for a battery that's overheating. So I don't think that one needs to be on because we don't have a battery on here, we've just got power. Alright, we're good. We're good here. That should get that part working. Not too worried about that just yet. We're going to see if the machine itself works. So I'll power it up with the other power supply. We won't worry about the chocolate bar one until I get it ready to go back together. So right now I'm going to turn the machine over and we'll power it up with its own adapter, which is this one here, the 12-volt adapter. Because I want to see what this machine does mechanically, if it does anything. I don't know if it works, but it will turn on. Okay, let's try eject. Alright, first things first, let's load a tape. And I'll get the video cord plugged in here so I can just output it to my TV so I can see what I'm doing. Notice how quick that thing loaded? Yeah, these are really fast at loading. And I have a picture. So this machine is functional. I don't have any sound, obviously, because I don't have a mini plug plugged into the front. We'll deal with that. I'll get a mini plug. We'll plug it in the front. I think I actually have one right here. That will probably work. There's reverse. These mechanisms work different than the other ones. Go into full fast forward. See how these operate? I believe it was a capstan motor that, yeah, it was a capstan motor that did everything. So this was like a 2-motor system with a bunch of clutches and so forth. The capstan motor does everything. It drives the reels backwards and forwards. It loads and unloads. And of course it drives the tape. You notice when you're in reverse search, it actually engages the pinch roller and inserts forward. Now by comparison, the SL2000, it had a drum motor, a capstan motor, a threading motor, a take-up supply, or take-up reel, and a supply reel. So each had its own separate motor. Found to be far too unreliable. They went to a more mechanical system with more things that could go wrong. Let's take a look at this playback on the monitor. So what he's doing there is he's talking about beta, super beta versus regular beta. That's the training course.
So that we have a space in here. Instead of the two signals running up against each other like that, there's actually space. On a normal record, you know that the magnetic material, they do touch each other, but in the super beta with the narrower head, we now have a narrower band of magnetic material put down And the spacing is the same because the timing of the tape and everything is the same.
So what he's talking about is the Super Beta used a, I think it was a 27 micron head versus a 33 micron head. So on the regular Beta, the tracks themselves, here we go, that is what he's talking about. So the tracks themselves
shows you that the thickness of the 900 is less than
23 microns versus 33. So 10 microns less for the head. And what that did was,
they want to do that.
and he's talking about why he did it here, why they did it, was first it could record higher frequencies with the narrower head, but also the tracks not butting up quite as close to each other allowed for a very, very slight gap guard band, which would improve the signal to noise and reduce the crosstalk in the chroma. I think that's what it was getting at. But in Beta 3 they still overlapped. They just didn't overlap as much as it did on the others. But this machine is playing. That's pretty cool. Just had that connection problem. I think that's all probably that was wrong with it. The fellow that owns this doesn't use it for video. He uses it to play back. Oh, that's just me putting my hands near the head, being picked up by the head amp, the plasma. But the fellow that owns this just uses it with a PCM adapter for playing back audio tapes that were recorded in digital on Beta cassettes using a PCM adapter. Early version of DAT. Eject. Like, it was fast. It's pretty loud too. Like, that's got to be the fastest loading and unloading Betamax. Say that one 5 times. This is going to be the fastest loading and unloaded Beta mechanism ever. That is just like, that's a mechanism on steroids. Ah, it's stuck. That's one of the problems that these ones had. That's why I was doing this, because I know that they had a tendency to stick, and it just did. We gotta figure out why it's sticking. Of course, I put it back into play. There we go. Now it won't do it again. Okay, it's stuck. It's stuck again. Now, if I power it up and hit play, and then hit eject, I hope it's not a broken gear on the there's a gear that drives from the capstan motor to the loading assembly. I hope it's just a slipping clutch. So let's pop it apart and see what's going on. To access the underside of the mechanism, we have to fold down this board and undo the screws, and then the board should flip open. been so long since I worked on one of these machines. And this was the last portable that Sony made because Betamovie replaced this. The front's got to come off, and I got to fold down the control board on the front as well, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure I got to do that on this one. Now I should be able to lift this up. Sort of. Alright, gotta probably remove the board on the back as well. Flip that one out of the way. There's a screw in here. And now the chassis should lift up. Of course, I'm going to have to undo some plugs. And undo this ground. So we can see how this thing works. And it's quite the, well, if you see the mechanism on here, it's quite the mechanical little nightmare. Belts drive, and there's a clutch here. I should be able to operate this with the deck out like this, so we can watch what it does. Just gotta put power to it. Okay, that time. Hit the eject button over here. Could be that belt that's slipping, you know, that might be why it's jamming. Let's just see here. We can simulate the fault. Put tape in there and close it down. Also the solenoid can stick here too. Okay, so that's loaded. Let's hit eject. I think that's the one that kicks in. Yeah, that's why it's that belt that's slipping. Okay, that's why it's not ejecting. That belt is slipping. But I have one that size. Well, maybe not. It's not broken. It's just slipping. I might be able to put some use some rubbery new on it to soften it up a bit, or put some stickum on there. That'll do it too. Let's see if I've got one. First of all, I doubt it, but I might have one. I might fit that one. I might have one here that will fit. Yeah, that's a little tighter. Let's try that one and see whether that one will hold it. I don't think this one's going to slip. I guarantee you this one's not going to slip. It's got lots of torque. Lots and lots of torque. I can't even get this one to stop if I put my thumb on there. See? Even if I stop it where it goes to kick in, so I'll just put some tension on here. As soon as I let go of it, yeah. So lots of torque. So that has solved the loading and unloading. I'll show you guys the bottom of this thing going through all the different modes, and obviously I won't be able to. Maybe I will get a picture on this. I don't know. I think the preamp's here. This is audio, so I should be able to get a picture of this thing when I put it into play. And plug the adapter piece in the back here, and I should have a picture. Of course I do, with all kinds of interference from the plasma screen. But there's playback. You'll see the gears here transferring power for play. This is the play idler, that one, and this one's used for fast forward rewind. Go to fast forward, right, and then rewind, back to play. Fast forward. And eject. Okay, power the unit down. I think we can put the board back in now and close this one up and make sure that that connection works, because this unit is now, I think, repaired. Well, it's working. It just wasn't ejecting the tape. One bad belt. I think the only beta machine that I hated worse than this, well, there was a few. SL2500, SL2700, and SL2000, with the SL2000 being at the top of that list just because it was a portable, and the portable ones were just a pain in the ass to work on because they were small and hard to take apart, hard to put back together. Everything had to be put in the exact order, and all the boards have to be folded up, and wires tucked into special little cavities on the side here. Yeah, they were a pain. I'm going to put this together first, and then I'll test it before I put the top cover on. Okay, that's
We now have them altered still.
Yep, I think we're good. Okay, let's put the top cover back on it. I don't know why it doesn't. I don't know why it doesn't load when I do that. There must be something else that gets pressed down when the tape goes in. I didn't see anything. Is there, maybe there's an optical sensor in here. Oh, I bet you know what? I bet you there's an optical sensor when the tape blocks it. I bet you there's an optical sensor in here. Let's just turn the night shot on and see. Aha! There is an optical sensor. That's what happens. It sees the tape. There's an optical sensor here that shines this way, and I guess when the tape blocks it, it goes into threading mode. And it's shining a light right across here. You see? That would also, I'm sure, detect if the tape got snipped. It would see that the tape was cut, and it would know to shut down. If we look right down into here, where can I point? you'll see right down in there, there's a photodiode. That's the receiver, because there's no light coming off of that one. The light's coming off the one on the other side over there. Okay, that question has now been answered. You see, now we know. We had to take it apart to know for sure, and now we know. So I can put this back together now and be happy that we know where the light comes from. Okay, now to put the top cover on and make sure that the other power supply works. So we'll unplug the power here at the back, and I'll get the top cover back in place. We'll try the power adapter now. And it turns on. There we go. So that one works now. That's what he was concerned about, getting this one working. Time to throw the last couple screws in it and throw it back together and send it on its way. Let's try another tape. Okay, watch the tracking control when I roll the tracking. Look at the chroma. The chroma increases, decreases. Starting to miss track, the chroma starts to go. Because as the FM signal for luminance can be demodulated until the signal is quite weak, but the chroma itself, that is encoded as a AM signal. So when you're mistracking a bit, that level will be lower, and the chroma is lower. Freeze frame doesn't have good freeze frame, this one. Forward search, reverse search, back to playback, and eject the tape. There we go, all done. New belt and repair the power connector. Another one saved. SL2001. One of my least favorite machines. This and the SL2000. They were the two Betamax machines I hated the most. Just because they're a pain in the ass to work on because they're so small. The 2000 maybe a little more than this because it's got all the motors, which means all the circuitry to drive all those extra motors. This one's only got 2 motors in it. The SL2000 had 5 motors, and that just means more things to fail. More drive circuits, more Hall effect sensors for these direct drive motors, more things to go wrong with the SL2000 than the 2001, but the 2001 does have the 2 belts in it. In this case, one of them went bad, and that's why it wouldn't eject. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.